think I can figure out how to sing it. Technology. So, right? Okay. All right. So, it's funny how these titles, nobody talks like this, right? But basically, what I'm trying to do is engage a Christian audience in environmental studies principles. And I'm doing that because I sense a general disconnect. My background, real quick, is after high school, I lived in Yosemite for a while, actually. And then I went into the military. When I got out, I entered high school, actually in law school, didn't like it, got into bicycle retail. I ran both words bicycle retail company. And then I got into, from there, that was 5 stores in Los Angeles, which was over 10 million a year. And I started growing mountain biking, so it's kind of then from there, I got into really big urban events and mountain bike events, ski areas and regional parks. And then from there, I went into bicycle tours all over the world. I owned a company, also owned a custom. So I had a travel company and I had a custom publishing company. And I did publications for a lot of corporations. And then I kind of had a Jesus moment. I became a Christian and left everything and became a pastor and jumped into that seminary. That was 2 churches. And then I became kind of disillusioned that there was a disconnect between the problems of the world and where and what you could do for the pulpit. And so I kind of sensed the disconnect. So actually, I went back into what I call the empire. You know, working for big companies and small companies, but I did work for Oakley and Nike, Patagonia, Sears Canada, JCPenney, Federated Stores, but then at the same time, I decided I need to be more as a Christian. So then I went to work for Bible University. Kind of a Christian thing. Sounds like an oxymoron. But I did the donor communications for 12 schools and colleges. And that was interesting. But I kind of saw the Christian academia, so I had a disconnect too. And I interviewed who I thought I had 330 people on staff there in terms of professors and adjuncts. And I interviewed who I thought were kind of top 4 thinkers, who were writing books and stuff, and trying to engage the culture. There's still a sense of disconnect. And then, what did I do next? I don't know. At some point, we left Southern California. And we decided we were tired of the city. We moved to Gunnison, Colorado about 7 years ago. There I worked in economic development, community development. I worked with 3 government agencies, a small business administration, and then health and human services, and then Forest Service. And so I worked in kind of the people, planets, and profits side of government. Still sensing all the same disconnects. And so it's all these disconnects that caused me to sort of say, wait a second, what can I do with how can I channel my experiences into something that responds to it? And so that's kind of where we're going. So we're going to kind of fly through this, and then we're going to look at some stuff here. And then this is on your little blue sheets here that you fill out at the end. You could let me know what resonated most, or maybe what resonated least, or actually what troubled you, and what additions you think on this. That would be helpful to me. So this idea of Christian magazine is something I've been thinking about for like 12 years. And just from a really global point of view, our system is broken. And that begs the question, how is it broken? And I really take kind of a Paul Hawkins approach, which is sort of this imperialism model. And so he named it. I think it's always good to start with a name, but it's a market globalization creates 3 things. 3 effects: prosperity, misery, and ecological degradation in roughly equal measure. Now, that's not a scientific statement, but it's an interesting way of looking at things. And if there's one good thing and two bad things, then maybe it's one step backwards, or two steps backwards for a step forward. So maybe that's kind of maybe a prescription for unsustainability or disaster, instability, trouble, those kinds of things. And to translate that into 5 words, wealth creates poverty and blight, and that's at least under market globalization. And if you read Burkus and some of the other Chapin, read those people, they talk about system dysfunction. And then if you extend that, you get into the longer cycle of decline. The system dysfunction promotes instability. And so even though the rich are getting richer, if a lot of people in a lot of places are going downhill, then it's not even good for the rich. And if you look at it kind of demographically, just from a U.S. point of view, the top 1% own more than the bottom 90%, right? And the top 10% are kind of like, so my boss in the forest services is Mr. Granger, his boss is the forest supervisor. And so like government agency heads, or even managers at the various outposts, there's 750 places you can work in forest work. That's bureaucracy. Well, lots of other agencies besides that. And so if you look at sort of the plutocrat, I'm not from Pluto, I don't know about you, but if you could kind of extend that down to the top 10%, meaning the superintendents of schools, the mayors, people that are ruling and running the show. That's kind of an elite group. And then everybody else, over the last 40 years, was poor. Stagnant or poor in 40 years. These guys were 84% richer. I think they went from 133,000 roughly to 255,000 on average income. So basically, that's a transfer from us to them, assuming most of us are in the And this number is a little suspect. There's so many statistics out there. I found ones that say it's 8,000. I found ones that say it's 1,000. But the point is that as much as we kind of are suspicious of the elite, on a global scale, and the globe is much bigger than the U.S. 300 million here, 300 million, but on the global scale, you've got, let's say, 7 billion. You and I are the top 1%. And so maybe we're actually intelligent. How are we getting richer and they're getting poorer? Maybe that same dynamic that we don't like, in the Walmartization of the world, or the McDonaldization of the world, maybe actually our consumer habits are playing this on a global scale and creating, let's say, 30 times as many poor people as what we have in America. And, it's kind of a cozy arrangement between big business and, let's call it, the state and big business. And who funds the campaigns? Who funds the lobbyists, etc.? Well, it's generally not the little guy. So the little guy's getting poor, and the state power is consolidating. So I've worked in 3 government agencies. I've seen them all get much larger in a rural town of 5,000. I've seen all these agencies get much bigger than all this. Interesting dynamic. Why can't we say no? I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm being played politically. We just went through an election cycle. I feel like the P's and the R's, if they work together, then we could point to the man behind the curtain. We could say, hey, wait a second. Because, if you start with a populace that is very, very diverse, that diversity is probably richness. And it's probably good that we have different priorities because maybe we can't cancel out each other's blind spot. But if you introduce this wedge, and the wedge is basically saying, I'm right and you're wrong. Now, it doesn't say that. It says you're right and the other guy's wrong. And that's very appealing on a superficial level. But then that wedge gets hammered down through the media, through education, through political process. And ultimately, you have these two sides, fighting against each other instead of pulling, like in a supermajority sense. Let's say you wanted to do something on an environmental scale. Well, you can't because it's a little subdivision of the Democratic Party. But let's say you want to do something really innovative on a socio-economic track. You can't almost for the same which is probably a little more difficult for most people. For me as a pastor, it's less difficult. But understand this idea of knowledge construction has been segregated. And so you could also call it secularization. But here's kind of what I mean by this. So this is a big pie representing America. 78% of Americans self-identify as Christian. That's 249 million people. Another 16%, now we're up to 94%. These believe in some other religion, or at least God or a higher power. So you've got kind of the God believers, and then 6%, that's the atheists. And it's amazing to me that a guy talked yesterday who represents a charter school up in the chapel, and he says, well, we can't really go down this road because of the separation of church and state. Well, I'm just saying, why would you disrespect the knowledge of 94% of the country? That sounds like something that would only happen, in an empire, kind of an imperial situation. Think of Star Wars. Is that a problem? Well, here's a conservation biologist, and you mentioned a little bit ago here, Wilson, who can turn a square foot of ground into a wilderness because of his fertile imagination. I mean, he's right, but that's on one scale. It's not on all scales that we left right now. He thinks it's a big problem. He has a solution, and it's kind of has some salesmanship. He actually puts the benefits first, and then he gets to how he's going to get there. He says if we want to save life on Earth, so he perceives as a problem, raising people everywhere with decent standard living, while there's conservation biologists, while preserving as much of the rest of life as possible, take care of people and the planet, what do we have to do? In his mind, he taught at Harvard for 40 years and won 2 Pulitzers. He knows a little bit of stuff, but he says to unite the most two powerful forces in the world, especially in the U.S., religion and science. So he says not only are they the most powerful forces in the world, but especially in the U.S., they're the most powerful forces in the world. And my thesis basically implements Wilson. It's like, okay, well, what would that look like? Now, the implementation gap, it's called, between, let's say, science or an idea and actually implementing an idea. So what I'm proposing to do is actually implement a model of the synthesis. And religion, it's nice to know your audience. Well, if I was going to try to unite two disparate groups, what would that take? The USF website says there's 3.2 million Americans with science degrees working in the fields of science. Now, forget for a second that 2/3 of those are engineers or in computer sciences. Let's just give it the benefit of the doubt, which is 3 million, which is a big number. But a much bigger number, 249 million, self-identify as Christians. And here's what that looks like. Again, if you pull out the engineers and computer scientists, it's 175 to 1. 99 more people. So, again, I'm just wondering why would we throw out something that's important to a lot of people. And I'm going to do some slides by Gerald Graff, who wrote the book, They Say, I Say, The News That Matter, and Action Writing. And Graff is interesting because he's really all about academic writing and vigor in the writing process and presenting arguments. And to him, that's what all academic writing boils down to, is presenting arguments. But he says, and he's taught for 4 years at the University of Chicago. So he's another deep thinker, been around forever like Wilson. He says, build them up to learn already knows the things. Wait a second, we can't, we threw it out. Entry into academic discourse must begin not with enunciation of the whole language or culture, but with points of commonality. So, I actually think that Graff and Wilson are onto something here. Uniting the safe life on Earth, that's the commonality, correct? And so synthesizing religious and scientific knowledge in terms of the existing knowledge, but then also, I would say, co-constructing new knowledge. So we're not going to be imperialistic and say, at least not in my model, we're not going to say we can't build new knowledge together. We want to synthesize what already exists, and then we want to actually work together, collaborate, and make new stuff. Now, here's the problem with kind of the way the university structure is, and the idea of processes that are kind of siloed. And I just read a book on interdisciplinary, and interdisciplinarity actually increases dissonance between disciplines. And it creates all the same problems, that the disciplines themselves create. And this is written by a guy who just studied American University. But he says to put our processes together in dialogue. Collaboration changes the way groups think, forcing them to look outside independent church beliefs. Courses should explicitly teach students how to think in the larger world. So if we would think about how to collaborate politically to solve problems, we would think about how to pool our knowledge and collaboratively, constructively. So I think we would actually get farther down the road. We would be kind of play, less side against the more benefits. To turn something into a thing. So it's not, like the African Ubuntu, right? That's the I me, we are one the same. If you're pain, I'm pain. This is the opposite, us versus them. That is so correct. But he also says a combination of the registers is more powerful than either one. Be more powerful. People learn to take about knowledge so much as a new identity, which is talking about. English is talking about that qualitative improvement, that comes from learning from other people, not dictating to. So I'm not proposing some kind of Christian theocracy. Science and religion have both had massive catastrophic failures in history, where they just not over the top, spreading knowledge. What I'm talking about is what most of us talking about, which is just a synthesis where come together to actually try to live well together and stay like America. Right? Says teach the conflicts, put those front and center in the courses. Actually solve problems. Use one language for purpose. And the reason I want to popularize this is bring this to the masses is that it won't matter much which side wins the debate if people remain excluded from the discourse. Solid benefits, rebels need to know the landscape so they can move these through. There's going to be innovative people out there if they see something and they get it. That's what pharmacy they can have. Another interesting dynamic for universities increasing big picture ideas, all good so far, is not matched by corresponding effort to clarify those ideas for a larger audience. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is actually take that university level knowledge out into a arena where it's accessible, like what Ray talked about this morning was decentralized. So that's including how people. So it synthesizes a few slides of kind of tactics. American Christianity and science are socially constructed knowledge systems embedded in 5 centuries of colonization and now post-colonial imperialism. So you have to start by admitting kind of that we're speaking stuff, and so that's a decolonizing strategy. It's actually we look at where we came from. Christian owners. Was that movie recently? 12 years of slavery. The plantation owners were generally Christians, not just whaling people. And create a conceptual space if you show how you were part of the colonial system. And even now, the imperial system, if you can connect those dots with people, that creates a little bit of kind of a moment, and now you can create space for surface. Another idea is to integrate Western knowledge with, and this is a cross-fertilization thing. If you look at your little handout, if you look at number 4 on translate, I want to first translate across 8 environmental studies disciplines. The Prescott College website talks about the natural and social sciences, economics, justice, ethics, humanities, education, and design thinking. So we'll get back to that in a little bit. But those 8 fields actually can inform Christian theology. Conversely, Christian theology can inform these 8 fields. So that's another way I want to contextualize this for a Christian audience. And then, integrate that into the global knowledge economy. And this is kind of a really simplistic example, but there are millions of examples. Rafe actually showed them today. But if there's an artisan who works with, his medium, he knows when his kiln heat is correct, and it's going to kind of at that maximum optimal temperature when the first pot cracks. In some cases, it's when it attains a certain color. But so he has this kind of indigenous way of looking at things. He doesn't have scientific instruments, but if you wanted to kind of find when that moment was on a broader scale, then you use scientific instruments to do that. Temperature, atmospheres, humidity, whatever it is. And you can apply that more broadly. If you look at like wisdom literature, 3,500 years of Hebrew literature, 2,000 years of Christian literature. If you look at indigenous literature, if you look at other world religions, there's a lot of traditional knowledge there that's useful. And it generally talks about, like let's say Proverbs, it talks about where the breaking points are, where the rebuilding points are, where the transforming points are. Well, those can all be looked at from a religious lens, but they can also be translated into those 8 environmental studies lenses we looked at. Now, they go back and forth, too. And then, finally, within Christianity, Jesus is been presented 10 jillion different ways. But to present him as indigenous would actually be a little bit of a breath of fresh air to maybe a lot of places. But indigenous to where? Because we always think of, tribes in a specific place. Well, the kingdom of God in the Bible is any place where we as the Imago Dei, the image of God, elevate the other. I'm going to put that in kind of colonial terms. And so, you can reclaim big swaths of scripture with actually kind of a basis for talking about, like liberation theology. Liberation theology is a really interesting experiment. Our CIA is probably done more to fight it than maybe even the dictators and all that. But it's an interesting phenomenon in the world. The part of liberation theology that I'm most interested in is what's going on stage right now for the middle class and with materialism and all that. And so I'm just thinking that if we were to indigenize Christianity as something to talk about the kingdom of God, then we would actually get a little farther down the road. Okay, now a handout. Actually, I have a handout here too. So how do you have any idea how I get to the desktop from escape? Thank you, sir. And I close out. Don't save. Exit. Here's kind of slide one. I guess that's okay. I don't know how to get to this. You probably won't. Yeah, but then I'm going to have page 2 it a little bit. Okay. So this is kind of the map. You have it here to keep safe. Get rid of this. How's that look? There, you got it. Answer. Okay. And then later I'll all right. So I want to kind of talk back and forth about a few things here. So this is a tabloid newspaper publication of Barron's for the Jerusalem Post and the New York Post. See how the pages are roughly tabloids? That's sort of where I want to work. If you flip over for a second. Mountain Guide magazine is something I drew up last year, right before I entered this program here at Preston. I was going to launch a company, but basically I wasn't really, my heart wasn't in it. I did adventure tourism, I know all that stuff. I don't want to go back to it. But also, I didn't feel like I had to eat stuff, right? In terms of, we really need more adventure tourism. Traveling on other people's money, during company and seeing resort areas and pristine areas. That's, I want to see the places where people are hurting, where we're screwing stuff up. Actually, I'd like to create a touring company on that, at least part of the magazine. That would be a dimension of the magazine that would actually get people to do kind of meaningful travel. But, so that was something that I grew up and I kind of liked it conceptually, but the ethos was wrong. So I like that stuff, the only kind of ferrets are world arts fair and stuff. There's so many different things. But here are some layouts. You look at the upper right. And so that's a Telluride view of the planet. We have the sometimes we might count. And there's record sports diary, which is a Latin American newspaper. That's another website. This is called Polish Business Daily. So this is kind of the size I want to do, and this is one of my graduate mentors looks estimate. And so the page sizes are about like that. So the reason I want to do this is so I can tell more complicated stories. That's okay. But imagine like just on let's take a subject that's divided, like American exceptionalism. Not talking as kind of a magazine. American exceptionalism, you got kind of that America is exceptionally great. You can kind of tell that story. And then you've got kind of the other side that says America is exceptionally imperialistic. Well, this is kind of like that Miller beer deal with tastes great plus fun. Earlier to get into a fight over if one of these is true. Is that like the left-right thing? Or maybe are they both true? And maybe there's all kinds of nuanced stuff in between. And so really, maybe if we start presenting things as sort of, it's all true. Now, how can we tap this and what can we do about it? And so what I'm trying to do is create something. So when you see these things, these editorial departments, what I'm trying to do is not to take an us versus them, but an integrationist, working across political spectrums, working across knowledge sources, to actually revisit our place in the world as a place where, man, if we work together, the sky's the limit. And so, there's a saying in Christianity, without vision, people perish. And so I really believe that you have to have an idea before you can, proceed. And so, CRC201, that's the acronym for the 9 departments. The departments in the magazine precede the features. The features are actually the meaty stories. This is just the front matter in the department in the magazine. But the C, so everything is a little bit twisted from the standard Christian party line. Like this is about co-creating. It's not about the creation. If we talk about the creation, it's passive. We can stand up and look at it. But if we talk about co-creating, now we're talking about what you and I, as consumers, as voters, as whatever, are producing, the effects we're producing. And then hearing. So we're, now are we creating wellness and abundance? Well, that's how the deck was originally stacked. Lots of life, lots of people. Between families and nature, there's a lot of life that can propagate there. But then you go to hearing, because we're creating some suffering. That's part of what we're creating. And so to hear the effects, to hear the voices, whether they're human or non-human, and then responding with just by actually forming ethics, in our heart and mind, and constructing this idea of justice and do I care, and then identifying as okay, if I am looking at the world this way, what is my identity? And that's different than the identity I had before I picked this thing up. And then to synthesize knowledge, that the idea there is really that Wilson piece, synthesize within science. Meaning really synthesize those 8 fields of environmental studies and religion. By religion, I mean Christianity, Judaism, Islam. I mean the religions, the monotheistic religions, and the other religions, and indigenous knowledge systems. So all the knowledges that can be produced instead of the ones that are recorded high status, you know, in the world, and the other ones that are ignored. That's actually synthesis of it. And then, so these together form kind of understanding. This is a new understanding of the world in terms of, oh, okay, this is a progression, and then I'm going to integrate to knowledge, and then these next ones are transformational, transforming. So understanding, integrating, transforming. The first level on which we can be transformers is what I call human care attention. It's kind of like mother loving the kid. You know, it's a school government. Somebody's talking about. It's just sort of local things. The next one is instituting. And that's, you know, institutions are generally much less designed than individuals. So you work for an institution that tries to do some good. But I would argue that the nonprofit sector is bounded by the empire, so that it can only do so much. You know, there's a great article in the book. The article is called "The Empire," or no, it says the revolution will not be funded. You know, and so the idea is knowledge construction is bounded, philanthropy is bounded, all kind of, you know, you can't upset the apple. Actually, but yet, I would argue that, you know, like a scientific intellectual movement, a sin, or a religious awakening, those kinds of things, you know, that requires touching a lot of people all at once to see good ideas, putting those ideas in a circulation. So, you know, looking at institutions in terms of, and I also look at this is the human scale, and this is the industrial scale, and it's kind of been a lot of trouble ever since the industrial revolution started. I think, in terms of giving man an even new, larger leverage to wreak havoc. But then apprenticing and new horizons. And the idea of apprenticing is there's a lot of people out there that are doing amazing things. So I call them exemplars. Now, I don't know who your heroes are, but Gandhi or yeah, everybody's got heroes. But those people are basically disruptive innovators. They're actually saying, no, I'm not going to live the way that the empire kind of programs me to live. And then design thinking is sort of those blueprints, those new ideas that are floating out there and are kind of being hatched into the ideas as a place where the parking lot can be put. And so that's my thesis. It's kind of unconventional because it's a project. And I would actually argue that doing a written thesis interferes with the process. What I'm trying to do is create what's called an editorial well, where I've got big piles of stuff in each of these areas. And what I want to do is mine that well and build spreads that are meaningful, tell a story on another level, that work across academic, practitioner, popular, and partisan audiences. Original, integrate a lot of ideas. And so that's really my idea with the master's is to produce this pilot. It's actually maybe 100,000 of them to start with, and then I can take them out. But ultimately, I want to try to get a grant. The Templeton Foundation would be a great logical step for starting. Where I would distribute this stuff, I would try to find opinion leaders. And so this is all pre-launch kind of stuff, where you're sending this out and engaging people. The second trying to do what you care. Engaging with people now that there's a pilot to flip through and engage with, to actually ask them, what do you think? Would this work? What ideas does it need? And actually build an organization around that. If you think about like World Watch, they have an annual, right? They've got an annual issue that they produce every year. So, yeah, for me, I'd love to create something that ultimately becomes a monthly, but I think a bridge to getting there is maybe to, like, from a over here, this is environmental studies, over here, this is maybe sustainability education piece. And I'd like to get to where, after working with potential opinion leaders, 20 to 30,000 a year, and incorporating their knowledge, if you can build networks, then you can actually produce a summit at the end of that 4-year period. And so that's kind of my goal. me, that's sort of the way I see this unfold. Question?
Okay.
Comments?
How do you define religion?
I don't. Yesterday we learned about eight intelligences. We got it.
Yeah, Scott McCurry.
Scott McCurry. And he said, oh, Howard Gardner actually has a ninth one. But because you can't locate it in one part of the brain, you can't really call it the ninth one. But so he calls it the eighth and a half intelligence. But for him, it's existential intelligence. Right? So there's all these different intelligences. Yes, he's got this big eight, and he's got this mystery floating as well. And so for him, and I kind of like his definition. It's the ability to ask big questions. Now, and the transcendental question is like, are we doing more good than bad? Are we going in the wrong direction? This is sort of more quality of life and quality of life. And I think that's the domain of religion is. It's been dumbed down to like this gospel of personal sin management, and that's kind of why I got out of the business. It's because for me, religion, and if you look at all the religions that are out there, if you look at the idea that people want to do good things, then the question is, how can you use that accumulated knowledge and wisdom and actually combine it with the rest of the other knowledge that's out there in the world, and produce arguments that actually say, hey, here's a framework for changing direction. Or here's the way of, at the top of this, I have my developing an integrated paradigm, maximizing wellness for people on Earth. And so I feel like religion is part of that. And even a small part, but an integral part. However, how this started was just to measure the drivers of wellness and pathology in human natural systems. How do we measure good and bad, wellness and pathology in human natural systems? And what's providing good and bad outcomes? And from there, I decided Wilson was a good thing to try to implement in an integrated paradigm to maximize wellness for people on Earth. Religion doesn't have a monopoly on bad ideas.
Wilson, I think, was conspicuously targeting elements of both audiences, the secular and religious. Do you anticipate having the secular audience as part of your audience, or are you focusing your attention on religious audience?
Well, the title Christian, the framework Christian, I'm focusing more on the 94% of Americans who either are Christian or are religious rather than atheists. And there's a definition of secularism out there. There's a billion definitions, but one of them is the idea that knowledge should include religious input, or exclude religious input. And so all I would say is that 6% is sort of the values of that 6% in the elite successfully excluding 94% of the populace from coming to the table, from influencing discussion, influencing policy discussion, debate, all that kind of stuff. That's almost part of how we got into this mess. And so I'm not saying let's push them out. I'm saying let's actually have discussions that are representative of the diversity of ideas that are out there instead of exclusive or excluded.
I had a similar question just related to other religious beliefs that aren't Christian faith. Mm-hmm. And I think your ideas are really interesting and good luck. I think it's really needed in the long run, but I think a global picture, how this can even be used in other countries, mm-hmm. other cultures eventually, whether the Christian framework might be limiting. Mm-hmm. I also recognize how that would help draw in the audience that you're initially targeting, yep. But I wasn't my parents are religious, but they're not Christian. Yep. A lot of my friends similarly would not pick up this because they wouldn't feel like it approaches them.
Following E.O. Wilson, first of all, he's an American religion and science, are the two most powerful forces in the world. I agree with that. I also think they're the two most destructive forces in the world. But Christianity is the most global religion. 32% of the world is Christian. No other religion comes close. And so, in terms of currency of knowledge and flow of knowledge, if you can decolonialize Christianity, then you actually, and if you include, like the Ubuntu, if you include the Harmony ways and the Native American sensibilities, you start to include and showcase, what Gandhi did, what Desmond Tutu did in South America, South Africa with apartheid. You start to look at what's common in all those views is that they're lifting up other people, they're liberating. Then all of a sudden, it as a package is attractive. But my market is an American market, and again, 78% of American. So that's my game. That's my audience.
In parallel to that question, I think there's a risk in presenting 94% of Americans as a homogeneous religious unit.
Yeah, we're not.
In Christianity, when I hear that, I question your bias and your intent from an objective standpoint. There is an element of fundamentalist Christianity that is anti-intellectual, and your introductory presentation about that the 6 or 7% of secular science is marginalizing. I think there's tremendous overlap. That there's tremendous potential. My thesis work is in looking at the potential to outreach to religious organizations, and again, this is kind of, I don't have a connection to that, but
what I haven't done here is map how I'm going to approach diverse Christian audiences. And I left that out of the discussion on purpose, because it's another 3-4 hours. If you pick up any phone book in America, you look at churches, and there's like 300 different choices, and they're all competing with each other. All these denominational distinctions.
it's going to be hard to focus this. I think that's a given. It's very hard to focus this, but I think a critical question I think you need to address is
I have.
Yeah,
I have internal.
In my thesis work, they answer my thesis question. They're happy because of the socioeconomic differences and potential to legitimize self-marginalizing elements of both science and religion.
So are you suggesting that his audience, despite what we've heard today, and I understand this is a truncated version, but are you suggesting that his audience is progressive Christian?
I don't know if mine is progressive or, but I think it's just you need to break it down.
Open.
Yeah, and
I'm there.
The question.
I'm there. I struggle with this as a pastor. I struggle with this as a guy who works in Christian. And I have basically everything in this, believe it or not, is about unification. It's about good outcomes. It's about working together in collaboration. It's not about what makes us different, but it's about how we can come together. And that's what I think is different about this. You got any partisan website, you got any media outlet, it's all about division. It's about the other side of morons. This is actually the first thing that I've seen, just even conceptually, that bridges rather than divides.
So are you not marginalizing like the Jewish community at all? Because I just don't see the relationship for like how that group who's like also involved and present and like engaged in other ways. Like I see how that group and other groups like the Islamic groups and like would feel excluded, especially like because the Judeo-Christian like literature is so similar that like you might be reaching out to very different Christian audiences, like whether you could conceptualize a way to somehow integrate that.
Well, I have Jewish teachings on process theology, on Shalom. The entire Old Testament is Jewish. The entire New Testament is Jewish. First of all, second of all, 6% of America. I'm looking at 94%. I mean, not 6%. 6 million people out of 382 million people in America. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at the intellectual traditions that make us up, and tapping those, and synthesizing things that emphasize collaboration and positive results.
But only to a Christian readership.
And the good news is, again, I'm targeting the 78%. I mean, if I wanted to be a Republican or a Democrat, now I'm working with a minority in the country. What I'm trying to do is work in a supermajority state. That's not to say I can get every Christian's attention. That's saying I don't want to limit myself from the start. But I think it's actually counterproductive to work in a partisan framework, and this is bigger thinking in my view.
But I think her point is that by naming a Christian, you instantly
I'm okay with it.
segregate.
I'm doing it on purpose. I'm aiming at 78% of people.
Okay.
And I'm also saying a lot of those other 22% are in play. Because they can look at this and go, if that's Christianity, I'm attracted to it.
Right.
Whereas if it's Joe Baptist, you're going to burn hell 5 times, if you drink tonight and get in a car accident, or whatever. All kinds of things can be caricatured and parodied. What I'm trying to do is actually the opposite. And I'm trying to do it for the sake of people in the earth. What I'm trying to do is get Christians in environmental studies education. That's the point of it.
Which I do want to commend you on trying to bridge that gap between religion and the environmental aspects that apply to religious schools. And explaining to them what I want to do, they make it seem so irrelevant, they don't care, they're very passive about it.
Yeah.
So I really commend you on that.
When I get involved, Jesus is going to come back and fix everything. It's like there's so many different.
That's the rest of your homogenizing where there's a huge emergent creation care movement.
Yep.
In evangelical.
Yeah.
I hear 94% Christians lumping all those into one, I guess, as an objective observer.
Yeah.
Lost them right there.
Yeah, I understand. That's
So Roger, what's your
right.
research shows how much the U.S. is
78%. There's qform.org.
That would maybe mean the Southeast. I mean, I used to live in the Southeast. Everyone professes to be a Christian on Sundays and Mondays.
Right.
My experience, of course, I haven't done any data research that, especially with 30 and younger.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I would say maybe 10%. Strong out. 78, maybe the Southeast, that Bible Belt.
Well, that's just for the nation.
That same Pew piece of research noted dramatically that religiosity is
I'm aware of all these things.
One last point, for everybody else to say, we put our hat on. You identify that, acknowledge that religion and Christianity is great. And I think to find out what are some positive attributes, the sense of humility that is missing from our.
Like let's say that God.
Humanist perspective.
I'm answering your question. Let's say that I believe that God created the heaven and the earth. That means that all people are my brothers and sisters. That means we're a family. So that changes my view of the entire world. And now I need a theology of enemies. And I need it's like, what does that mean if everybody else is equal to me? In terms of status and so those are the directions I'm coming from. And that's the guy who won the Templeton Prize in 2014, Thomas Lee. He did all kinds of amazing work in Eastern Europe in terms of opposing dictators and stuff. This is the guy working from just supplying, but is faith power. And so if I can borrow from a pope or from a Protestant or from a Native American Christian, like the one I tried to bring here, Carl, is a work with one now. I want all that information that's useful to this debate that can bring us back together. And I understand Christianity is in itself offensive to some people. That's a given. I'm still gonna apply like E.O. Wilson's challenge. He kind of threw down the gauntlet. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to do it unashamedly. Yeah.
Do you plan on having a clear mission and vision statement for your magazine so people know where you're coming from?
Yeah, I mean, as I go to pages, and that's kind of what, it's like this includes, deep colonial type stuff and indigenous and all this stuff. I'm not doing a thesis on that. I'm building a magazine. And so I kind of have to cross those bridges when I get to it. Sort of when I have to cross it, then I can kind of go back and, communicate. Like you write the forward in the book, at the end. It's kind of like that.
So I know geographically the dispersion of Christianity in the U.S. is pretty distinctly spread out.
Uh-huh.
Are there certain areas that you're attempting to target more specifically? So are you going to go from the Bible Belt first, or is it just kind of a wider distribution everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, I came from Southern California, where 24 of the 25 largest churches in the country are in California.
Mostly Catholic?
Yeah.
They will be maybe in 10 years.
Yeah. But no, I'm not even planning on thinking about that stuff yet. That's like close pilot. Yeah. Right now I'm trying to produce content that actually people can look at and go, shoot, that kind of works. If I can get to that point, then the hackles won't be up. And then if I can solicit good feedback, then I can eventually get to a point where maybe it's actually something that can be launched. And again, the whole point of all this is to get to where I can do meaningful feature articles.
I don't think you answered Marissa's question very in a way that was meaningful to her. I'm thinking of my own parents, Jews in New York, right? They're just not going to pick it up. However, they will pick up the Christian Science Monitor. So they managed something that you can repeat.
Well,
I don't know how.
I'll tell you how. Jews win 33% of the world's intellectual prizes, even though they're less than 1% of the people in Europe.
It was just assumed when I was born that I did a PhD.
It was assumed. It's cultural. If you look at who wins the Templeton Prize, a lot of Jews in that group every year. You can. There's so many different ways that I can talk good about different audiences. I want to talk good about Arabs. I want to talk good about. I would love to do something on Palestine that actually tells both stories and doesn't disparage either groups. That's where I'm trying to get. Where you can actually understand what's going on.
So I have a suggestion. I know that you're not coming into this from a research background, but I'm a research-oriented person. Yep. Even though you're not taking a research-based thesis track, I did have some suggestions. I just wanted to voice briefly. I think that in this pilot phase, it might be useful for you to do some interviews with potential readers overall. And I know you're doing that, I'm sure, because you're engaged in this work. But even if you could come up with a survey and just some basic, and just
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that here. The reason I'm not is I'm trying to take the best thinking that I can find. Each of these 9 departments has over 20 books in it. And they're all painstakingly selected. And so all I'm trying to do is summarize the best thinking that's out there. That's where I'm not trying to create any editorial. So this is summarizing the best thinking, and then I'm going to present it to people. I actually have to start with a pilot. I don't want to start with readers. That for me is down the road. What I'm trying to do right now is to get from point A to point B. Wilson throws down the challenge. Now synthesize it too.
Right.
To save life on it. Yeah.
From an ethnographic perspective, what do you think you could, with even just reading some basic books?
I'm not going to do it.
Okay. Well, that means you're putting your own filter of what the best is on top of something that
You're exactly right.
Other scientists who are engaged in the Christian.
I'm not interested in other scientists think. I want to take what is generally recognized as leading thought in all of these fields and I want to distill it into something that can then be packaged and handed to a person, a potential opinion leader or a potential reader, and then, you know, I want to give them the best stuff I can find. That's how I want to get there. I don't want to get there. I don't want to make this a 4-year project. I already did research on Forest Service meat and stuff. It's pretty well received, but I don't want to do that here. For me, this is a really difficult thing to pull off. Just even throw a pilot together. For example, even artistic food, I have no idea what this is going to look like. Even though I showed some ideas. All the commercial stuff I've done, I already knew what I was going to do. I knew exactly, you know, the vibe the company wanted. I knew everything. In terms of the marching orders, in terms of, you know, what we're trying to do is drive people to an event or get people thinking about the company this way. Here, I'm trying to synthesize, and integrate 2 different knowledge systems so that people can think about saving life on Earth as a collaborative venture. That's what you want to do. We are way over.
Yeah. Thank you. About the stuff?
Yeah.
Exciting stuff? And thanks. Interesting also the trio of talks, all of which are all about connecting humans and nature on very different scales, in very different ways and with very different purposes and outcomes. Well, not different outcomes, but different approximate purposes, but ultimate goals are similar. So, thank you.